Fade in on a blood-red sunset over the Arizona Territory, 1887. The desert wind howls through canyon walls like the screams of the damned. Crack. A rifle shot echoes across the valley. Maya Clearwater drops behind a boulder, her worn leather boots sliding on loose shale. At 16, her Apache heritage shows in her dark eyes and weathered hands, but her faded blue dress marks her as caught between two worlds. Blood seeps through the fabric at her shoulder. I know you're up there, girl. The voice belongs to Jack Morrison, a bounty hunter whose scarred face tells stories of violence. His boots crunch on gravel as he climbs the rocky slope. Your folks had a price on their heads. Dead or alive, you're worth the same. Maya presses her back against the stone, clutching an old Henry rifle that belonged to her grandfather. The sacred hill rises behind her, its red rock formations twisted into shapes that seem to move in the dying light. Ancient Apache symbols are carved deep into the stone, worn smooth by centuries of desert wind. Found some interesting tracks down in Copper Creek, Morrison calls out, his voice getting closer. Barefoot prints. Lots of them. All heading toward your little hideout up there. The wind dies suddenly. Complete silence settles over the desert like a burial shroud. Maya risks a glance around the boulder. Morrison has stopped climbing. He's staring down at the valley floor, his rifle lowered. In the growing darkness, shapes move through Copper Creek. Too many shapes. Moving wrong. What in the hell, Morrison whispers. A scream pierces the night. Then another. Then so many that they blend into one continuous wail of terror. Maya sees them now. The people of Copper Creek stumbling through the streets like drunks. But their movements are too stiff, too angular. And even from this distance, she can see something is wrong with their eyes. Old Sarah Garcia, who used to give Maya supplies in trade for rabbit pelts, lurches out of her general store. Half her face is missing, torn away by something with claws. She doesn't seem to notice. Mother of God, Morrison breathes. He raises his rifle toward the valley, then lowers it again. There are too many of them. Maya knows she should run. The sacred caves of her ancestors honeycomb the hill above, offering perfect hiding places. But something holds her frozen. A memory of her grandfather's words echoes in her mind. When the dead walk, little sparrow, the old ways must return. She'd always thought it was just another story. Apache folklore to teach children respect for their elders. But watching Sarah Garcia tear into what used to be Tom Fletcher with teeth that have grown too long and too sharp, Maya begins to understand that some stories are prophecies. Morrison starts backing up the slope toward her position. Girl, whatever grudge we got, it can wait. We need to get out of here. Below them, more shapes emerge from buildings. Men and women Maya has known all her life, transformed into something hungry and wrong. They move in perfect silence now, no more screaming. Just the soft scrape of boots and bare feet on dirt. The infected begin climbing toward the sacred hill. Maya chambers around. The metallic click sounds impossibly loud in the stillness. They're coming for the hill. What's so damn special about this rock pile? Morrison demands. Maya doesn't answer because she doesn't know. Only that her grandfather died protecting something up here. Only that the Apache have considered this ground sacred since before the Spanish came. Only that the caves contain things her people prefer not to talk about. The first of the infected reaches the base of the slope. It's Reverend Matthews, the circuit preacher who used to hold services in the schoolhouse. His black coat is shredded, and something has torn open his throat, but he keeps walking. When he looks up at Maya, his eyes are the color of winter snow. Morrison fires. The bullet takes Matthew's center mass, spinning him around. He staggers, black blood spreading across his shirt front. Then he straightens and continues climbing. Jesus Christ, Morrison gasps. He should be dead. He is dead, Maya says quietly. More infected swarm up the slope now. Perhaps 30 of them, moving with unnatural coordination. Their skin has gone the color of old parchment, and their fingernails have grown into claws. But Maya recognizes every face. The baker's wife. The blacksmith. 3 children who used to wave at her from their mother's porch. Morrison empties his rifle into the advancing horde. Some stumble. None fall. This ain't possible. Maya takes careful aim at what used to be little Tommy Sawyer and pulls the trigger. The child's head snaps back, but he keeps climbing. She works the lever, chambers another round, fires again. This time Tommy goes down and stays down. The head, she calls to Morrison. You have to destroy the head. But Morrison isn't listening. He's staring past the climbing dead toward the horizon, where dust clouds are rising against the star-filled sky. Something big is moving out there in the darkness. Something that makes the earth tremble. Maya follows his gaze and sees them. Riders approaching from the north. At least 100 of them, maybe more. Even in the dim starlight, she can make out the eagle feathers in their hair, the war paint on their faces. Apache warriors in full battle dress, riding hard toward the sacred hill. Your people? Morrison asks. Maya shakes her head. My people are all dead. Or they're supposed to be. The infected have covered half the distance now. Reverend Matthews reaches a narrow ledge 20 feet below Maya's position and stops. He tilts his head like a dog hearing a whistle only he can detect. Then he smiles, revealing teeth filed to points. Maya, he says in a voice like grinding stone. Come down to us, child. Come join your friends. Other infected take up the call. Maya. 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 They know her name. They remember her. But the intelligence behind their pale eyes is cold and hungry and utterly alien. Morrison grabs Maya's arm. We're leaving. Now. But when they turn to climb higher up the sacred hill, they find their path blocked. An old Apache man sits cross-legged on a stone shelf, as if he's been waiting for them. His long gray hair is braided with eagle feathers, and his weathered face is painted with symbols Maya doesn't recognize. He wears traditional buckskin clothing, but there's something strange about him. Something that makes Maya's eyes water when she tries to look directly at his face. Grandfather, she whispers. The old man shakes his head. I am Cochise, war chief of the Chiricahua. And you, child, are the last keeper of the sacred flame. Morrison aims his rifle at the apparition. Another one of them? I am something far older, Cochise replies. The dead that walk below are an abomination. A sickness that spreads from soul to soul. But there are other kinds of death, bounty hunter. Sacred deaths. Deaths that serve a purpose. The infected surge up the slope, moving faster now. In moments they'll reach the ledge where Maya and Morrison stand trapped between stone and spirit. Cochise rises smoothly to his feet. The fountain of life lies within the sacred caves. It is the source of power that keeps the balance between the world of the living and the world of the dead. Something has poisoned that balance. I don't understand, Maya says. You will, Cochise promises. When the time comes, you must choose. Destroy the fountain and end the plague forever. Or purify it and risk everything on the chance that some souls can be saved. Reverend Matthews reaches the ledge. His fingers, now ending in black talons, scrape against the stone as he pulls himself up. Behind him, 30 more infected climb in perfect silence. Maya raises her rifle, but Cochise places a ghostly hand over the barrel. Save your bullets, keeper. You will need them for what comes after. The war chief steps forward to meet the advancing horde. His form becomes more solid, more real, as if Maya's presence gives him substance. When the first infected reaches for him, Cochise draws a bone knife that gleams with inner fire. The blade passes through Reverend Matthews' neck like smoke. The preacher's head topples from his shoulders, and his body crumbles to dust. The old ways, Cochise calls to Maya as he cuts down another infected. Remember the old ways. But the dead keep coming. For every one Cochise destroys, 2 more take its place. And in the distance, Maya can see more shapes stumbling out of Copper Creek. The entire population of the valley has been infected. Morrison grabs Maya's hand. Whatever this is about, we can figure it out later. Right now we run. They scramble up the hillside as Cochise fights a desperate battle below. The sacred caves yawn open ahead of them, black mouths in the red stone. Maya has never entered them before. Her grandfather forbade it, saying some secrets were too dangerous for the living to know. As they reach the cave entrance, Maya looks back. The Apache war chief is being overwhelmed. Infected swarm over him like ants over honey. His bone knife flickers and goes dark. Grandfather was right, Maya whispers. The dead are walking. And it's up to us to put them back in the ground. She disappears into the sacred caves, Morrison close behind her. In the darkness ahead, something ancient and powerful waits to test whether she's worthy of her heritage. Behind them, the infected follow, their pale eyes glowing like cold stars in the desert night. The real battle for the sacred hill is about to begin. The sacred caves swallow Maya and Morrison like the throat of some ancient beast. Their footsteps echo in chambers that haven't known human presence for decades. Maya's grandfather had sealed these passages with stones and warnings, but desperation drives them deeper into the mountain's heart. Morrison strikes a match, casting dancing shadows on walls covered with Apache pictographs. The images tell a story in red ochre and charcoal. Warriors fighting creatures with pale skin and empty eyes. A woman standing before a pool of silver water, her hands raised to the sky. And above it all, the symbol of the sacred flame, burning eternal in the darkness. Your people knew about this, Morrison says, studying the ancient artwork. They've seen this plague before. Maya traces one of the figures with her fingertip. The woman in the painting bears her face, or perhaps she bears the woman's face. My grandfather called me the last keeper. I thought he meant keeper of stories. But this. A sound echoes from the cave entrance behind them. Scraping. Dragging. The infected have found their trail. They push deeper into the tunnels, following passages that branch and twist through the mountain's core. The air grows warmer as they descend, and a strange luminescence begins to emanate from the walls themselves. Veins of silver run through the red stone like frozen lightning. There's light ahead, Morrison whispers. The tunnel opens into a vast chamber, its ceiling lost in shadows far above. In the center, a pool of water reflects the silver veins, creating the illusion of captured starlight. The water moves without wind, forming patterns that hurt to look at directly. Around the pool's edge, the bones of ancient Apache shamans sit in eternal meditation, their skeletal hands positioned as if in prayer. Maya approaches the water's edge. The fountain of life. Just like Cochise said. But something is wrong. The water that should be crystal clear has turned the color of old blood. Dark shapes move beneath the surface, and when Maya leans closer, she sees faces. The faces of everyone who has died in Copper Creek, trapped beneath the corrupted waters like insects in amber. Morrison checks his remaining ammunition. Whatever did this, it's not natural. A new voice echoes through the chamber, smooth as silk and twice as deadly. Natural is such a limiting concept, don't you think? A man emerges from the shadows at the far end of the chamber. He wears the black coat of a traveling preacher, but his pale skin and two bright eyes mark him as something else entirely. Something that was never human to begin with. Reverend Blackwood, Maya breathes. She remembers him now. He'd come through Copper Creek 3 days ago, holding revival meetings and promising salvation to anyone who would listen. The townspeople had flocked to him like moths to flame. Such recognition warms what passes from my heart, Blackwood says with a smile that reveals teeth filed to points. Though I prefer my true name. Malphas. Prince of Builders. Architect of Corruption. Morrison aims his rifle, but Blackwood waves a dismissive hand. The weapon flies from the bounty hunter's grasp, clattering against the chamber wall. Now. We're all civilized beings here. Well, mostly civilized. Blackwood circles the poison fountain like a predator. You see, Miss Clearwater, your ancestors were quite clever. They built this place as a conduit between worlds. Life and death. Sacred and profane. It maintains a very delicate balance. And you destroyed that balance, Maya says. Improved it, Blackwood corrects. Death is so much more efficient than life, don't you find? No messy emotions. No inconvenient moral qualms. Just pure, focused hunger. The scraping sounds from the tunnel grow louder. The infected have reached the main chamber. Blackwood spreads his arms wide in welcome. Ah, my congregation arrives. 30 souls, all eager to serve. Well, 31 if you count poor Cochise. Even ancient war chiefs make excellent servants once properly motivated. Cochise stumbles into the chamber, but he's changed. His ghostly form has solidified into something diseased and wrong. His war paint has turned black, and his eyes are the same winter pale as the other infected. Behind him come the corrupted townspeople, moving in perfect unison. You turned him, Maya whispers in horror. Spirits are surprisingly susceptible to the right kind of persuasion, Blackwood admits. And now, my dear keeper, you have a choice. Join my growing family willingly, or watch as I corrupt every sacred site from here to the Pacific Ocean. Morrison edges toward his fallen rifle, but infected hands grab him from behind. Tom Fletcher and Sarah Garcia hold him fast while Reverend Matthews approaches with claws extended. Maya backs toward the fountain. The corrupted water laps at her boots, and she feels its poison trying to seep into her soul. But underneath the corruption, she senses something else. The original power of the sacred spring, buried deep but not destroyed. My grandfather told me stories, she says, stalling for time. About the first keepers. They could purify water that had been poisoned by dark spirits. Blackwood laughs. Your grandfather was a sentimental fool. The old ways are dead, child. I represent progress. Maybe. But you made one mistake. Maya kneels by the fountain's edge, placing her hands in the foul water. It burns like acid, but she doesn't pull away. You assumed I was the last keeper. But you never asked what I was keeping. She closes her eyes and reaches for memories that aren't entirely her own. Generations of Apache women who have knelt by this same spring. Their knowledge flows through her bloodline like an ancient river, teaching her words in languages that predate written history. The water around her hands begins to clear. Blackwood snarls and lunges forward, but Cochise suddenly blocks his path. The war chief's eyes flicker from pale to dark and back again, as if two forces war within his spirit. Choose, Cochise gasps. Choose quickly, keeper. I cannot hold him long. Maya speaks words that burn her throat, calling on powers that demand a price she's not sure she can pay. The fountain responds, silver light blazing up from its depths. The corrupted water begins to turn clear, and the trapped faces beneath the surface start to dissolve. But purification comes with a cost. Maya feels her life force flowing into the spring, aging her with each syllable. Her black hair shows streaks of white, and lines appear around her eyes. The infected townspeople suddenly stop moving. Confusion replaces hunger on their faces as their humanity returns. Sarah Garcia blinks and looks around in wonder. Tom Fletcher releases Morrison and staggers backward in horror at what he's become. Impossible, Blackwood hisses. But even as he speaks, his form begins to waver. The fountain's pure light is poisoned to his corrupted essence. Not impossible, Maya says, her voice now carrying the weight of all the keepers who came before her. Inevitable. This is sacred ground, and you're not welcome here. Blackwood makes one final desperate lunge, his form dissolving into shadow and malice. But Cochise, his spirit now purified, meets him with a bone knife blazing with silver fire. The two forces collide in an explosion of light and darkness. When Maya's vision clears, both Blackwood and Cochise are gone. Only dust remains, swirling in patterns that might be coincidence or might be a final salute from an ancient warrior. The fountain runs clear now, its silver water reflecting the faces of the living rather than the dead. Maya stands slowly, her legs shaking from exhaustion. In the space of minutes, she has aged a decade, but her eyes burn with ancient wisdom. Morrison helps her to her feet. Is it over? Maya looks at the purified spring, then at the confused townspeople who are slowly remembering who they used to be. For now. But there will be other threats. Other corruptions that need cleansing. The job of a keeper is never truly finished. She walks to where Cochise fell and picks up his bone knife. It feels warm in her hands, as if it retains some echo of the warrior's spirit. Sarah Garcia approaches hesitantly. Maya? What happened to us? I remember, darkness. Hunger. But nothing else. You were sick, Maya says simply. But you're better now. As they make their way back through the caves toward the surface, Morrison studies Maya's transformed appearance. You could have let me die back there. Could have let all of them die. Why didn't you? Maya pauses at the cave entrance, looking out at the desert dawn painting the sky in shades of gold and crimson. In the distance, dust clouds mark the approach of cavalry from Fort Bowie, drawn by reports of trouble in Copper Creek. They'll ask questions that can't be answered with anything resembling the truth. Because, she says finally, someone has to stand between the darkness and the light. Someone has to keep the sacred places safe. My grandfather understood that. Cochise understood that. And now, so do I. She walks out into the morning sun, no longer the frightened orphan who had hidden on this hill just hours before. The townspeople follow her, drawn by something they can't name but instinctively trust. Even Morrison seems reluctant to leave her side, his bounty hunter's instincts telling him that Maya Clearwater is now the most dangerous person in the territory. But dangerous to whom depends entirely on which side of the light you choose to stand. The sacred hill stands silent in the desert wind, its caves once again empty save for ancient bones and older memories. But somewhere in those depths, silver water continues to flow, waiting for the next time the balance between life and death needs a keeper's steady hand. Maya doesn't know it yet, but this is only the beginning of her story. The first chapter in a long tale of guardianship that will span decades and challenge her in ways she can't imagine. But for now, it's enough to walk down from the hill with the sunrise at her back, knowing that some things are worth protecting, no matter the cost. The old ways have returned to the Arizona territory. And Maya Clearwater is their keeper.